Occupational English Test. Practice Test 3. Listening Test. This test has 3 parts. In each part, you'll hear a number of different extracts. At the start of each extract, you'll hear this sound. You'll have time to read the questions before you hear each extract, and you'll hear each extract once only. Complete your answers as you listen. At the end of the test, you'll have 2 minutes to check your answers. Part A. In this part of the test, you'll hear 2 different extracts. In each extract, a health professional is talking to a patient. For questions 1 to 24, complete the notes with information you hear. Now look at the notes for extract 1. Extract 1, questions 1 to 12. You hear a pulmonologist talking to a patient called Robert Miller. For questions 1 to 12, complete the notes with a word or short phrase. You now have 30 seconds to look at the notes.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. Now, looking at your notes, I see you've been having a few problems recently. Could you tell me a little about what's been happening in your own words?
Well, yeah, it's a combination of things, really. To kick off, I feel pretty tired most of the time. Just haven't got the energy I used to have.
Right.
And I've got this cough. It's there all the time, and it feels dry. I mean, I'm not coughing up phlegm or blood or anything like that. But the worst thing, which really bothers me, is that I'm so short of breath. Even if I'm just getting dressed in the morning or going up a few steps, I have to stop because I get breathless so quickly. And I've lost quite a bit of weight, too. I mean, I didn't notice at first because it was very gradual, but all in all, I'm about 10 kilos lighter than I was 6 months ago.
Right.
I've not been dieting or anything. I love my food.
Okay. And, have you noticed anything else?
Yeah, just take a look at my fingers. The tips look swollen, don't they? And it's the same with my toes, which are bulging out at the end, too. It's weird. And my nails, I don't understand it. They've become soft. They're not hard like they used to be. Look.
Okay. I see what you mean. And tell me a little about yourself. What you do for a living.
Well, till recently, I worked as a farm laborer. Did it for about 20 years in total. It was hard, physical graft, and it finally got to the stage where I just couldn't cope with it anymore.
Right.
It really took it out of me. So this last couple of years, I've been a security guard, working nights at a local DIY warehouse. It's a bit boring, and the late shifts took a bit of getting used to, but it's okay.
And, are you finding it less physically demanding?
That's right. I just haven't got the stamina now for anything else. In fact, I've even had to give up my golf. Can't manage it anymore. Any spare time now goes on looking after my pigeons. I've done that since I was a teenager.
Oh, very nice. And what about your medical history? Now, I see you were diagnosed with hypertension last year, and you're taking beta blockers at the moment for that.
That's right. My GP said it'd help. Something the GP also said when I saw him about my breathing problems was that he heard what he called crackling noises in my chest.
Okay.
I can't hear them, but he could through the stethoscope.
Okay. And is there any family history of breathing or lung problems or any serious illnesses that you know of?
I don't think so. My mother was always healthy, but my dad developed bad eczema as an adult. I remember the red patches on his hands and face, but he didn't have any lung problems as far as I know.
Right. And Well, looking at your previous tests, you were diagnosed with hypertension about 6 months ago. You had...
an echocardiogram, to check my heart.
Yes.
And a chest x-ray about 4 weeks ago after I saw my GP. That came back okay, as far as I know.
I see.
I'm not keen on hospitals, to be honest. Am I going to need to have lots more tests?
Well, I'm going to suggest you have what's called an arterial blood gas test. This will let us check how well your lungs are working, how they move oxygen into your blood and remove carbon dioxide from it.
Okay.
And I'm also going to order a CT scan. Now, this will be more revealing than the chest x-ray you had. And I may then prescribe a course of corticosteroids. This will depend on what the tests show up. Now, I'd start you on a relatively low dose and then we'll see how...
Extract 2. Questions 13 to 24. You hear an eye specialist talking to a patient called Jasmine Burton, who has recently undergone eye surgery. For questions 13 to 24, complete the notes with a word or short phrase. You now have 30 seconds to look at the notes.
I've got your notes here, Mrs. Burton, but as we're meeting for the first time, could you begin by telling me a little about your eyesight and the treatment you've had over the years? Did you wear glasses as a child, for example?
Yes, since I was about 7. My parents were concerned by the way I held a book when I was reading, so they took me to an optometrist. He told them I had some kind of astigmatism.
Am I right in assuming that's myopic rather than hyperopic?
Well, yes, I'm nearsighted, if that's what you mean.
That's right. Some people actually have mixed astigmatism. They're far-sighted in one eye and near in the other.
Oh, well, that's not me.
Right.
And as well as my astigmatism, as you probably noticed, my eyes flicker. I'm not aware of it myself, but other people comment on it sometimes. I think you call it nystagmus. It meant that when I had my eye surgery, they preferred to use a general rather than a local anaesthetic.
OK, so did anyone ever tell you what they thought might have caused the condition?
Well, I was once told that my generally poor eyesight is most probably down to the fact that I don't have enough pigment in my eye.
Right.
On the whole, my eyes have never really caused me any significant difficulties, however. I've always had to wear glasses, so that's part of life now. I suppose the only thing is that driving's always been out of the question. I'd never have passed the sight part of the test. That's probably a good thing because it takes me some time to focus, which could make me pretty dangerous if I was ever behind the wheel of a car.
Yes, indeed.
Also, I'm useless at sports like tennis. I think that's because I'm poor at judging the distance between myself and the ball. That was a pain as a teenager, but I've never particularly wanted to play since then. And I've hardly had any issues at work because of my sight. I'm a receptionist in a hotel, and I've never had any difficulty reading computer screens or anything, fortunately.
You've had your eyes regularly checked throughout your life, presumably.
Yeah, that's right, every couple of years. My prescription has changed a little over time, but not that much. Though I certainly couldn't manage without reading glasses these days. About 3 years ago, I was told a cataract was developing in my right eye.
Right.
It was a few years before they decided to remove it. That was this February. And it all went very smoothly.
Good. And you were pleased with the result?
Yeah, I was, thrilled. If only all our failing parts could be replaced so easily. However, when I had the routine checkup a couple of weeks after the operation, I was told there was some clouding, opacity?
Opacity, yeah.
I think was the word they used, in the capsule containing the new lens. It's a bit disappointing. They could clear it with a laser if it gets to be a real problem, but my flicker makes that rather a risky option. I knew that there's a greater chance of developing a detached retina after a cataract op.
Yes.
but I'm glad to say they found there wasn't any evidence of that in my case.
Oh, good.
All they did was make an appointment for me to be checked out again in 6 months' time. But they said I should get in touch if I felt concerned about my eyes.
And is that what brings you here today?
Yeah, because I am bothered about a couple of things. So firstly, I've noticed more floaters than usual. I
Right.
don't know if that's something to worry about or not. More annoying is the fact that I'm much more troubled by glare than I used to be, so I wanted to ask your opinion on that.
OK, well, let's start by...
That is the end of Part A.